So in the last video we finished half of this model off black, and in this video I'm going to show you how I've been painting Red Power Armour. The first thing we need to do is base coat the half of the model we're going to paint red, and for that I'm going to mix equal parts of Rhinox hide and Khorne Red. This will give you a sort of dark reddy brown that will be ideal for the sort of layers we're going to start building on top of this. So bear with me just a second. Add a little bit more brown. So if you can see, that's kind of what we're going for. It's almost got like a terracotta hue to it in a small regard. And yeah, very, very simple stuff. We're just going to carefully paint the areas of the model we want red with the dark reddy brown. So give me a second and I'll finish this off. So with that base coat done, I'm going to move on to using Khorne Red directly from the pot. And the areas I'm going to paint are those that will start catching the light. Now if you've been watching my other videos on Space Marine Armour, I've been painting them very shiny. So this shin guard at the front, I'm going to leave a dark sort of brown line in the middle. So everything to the right here will be filled in with the Khorne Red. And then on the other side, everything on this right will be filled in. So we're going to leave this sort of stripe of dark brown in the centre, and I'll fill the rest in off camera. We're going to carry that same stripe down the foot, and then onto the toe cap there. Things like the knee pad, I do a circle in the bottom right and a circle in the bottom left. So you're kind of left with a V shape on the top. And that same line we're going to follow up onto this cresting above the knee pad here. As for the shoulder guard, I'm going to curl round here and leave the bottom corner with the darker brown. The rest of it will be filled in with the Khorne Red. And then the other areas like the arm, I might imagine a dark line running down the middle. So top and bottom will have this lighter red applied. On the back, you can apply the same sort of dark line running in the middle of the back of the armour here. The circular part, I normally paint it as if it was a gem, so it's darker on top, lighter towards the bottom, but you might want to reverse that. And then things like the elbow pads, it's a bit difficult to see here, but there's two facets to the elbow pad here. One side will start light and get dark, and the other one will be the opposite. So if this is going to be the lighter side here, I will cut off, make sure this is in focus because it's a bit difficult to see with the purity saw here. I'll do sort of a diagonal line just there. And then the other side is going to be lighter towards this end and it'll get darker towards the top. So I'll put that diagonal line there. Now this will become more apparent as we progress through this. And then things like the exhaust sort of cover here, I'll do that same sort of circular pattern and just leave the bottom corner of it this darker colour. So yeah, what I'll do is I'll finish this off and I'll show you sort of like the other areas and show you what I normally would do. But yeah, bear with me just a moment. So with that done, you can see where I've left these darker lines along the front of the shin into the boot, on the top of the knee pad. There's a line running along the helmet just here and in the corners of the shoulder guard as well as up the middle of the arm. And on the back you've got that same line running along the whole of the leg, and then darker parts at the bottom of this circular section as well as in the corners of the exhaust vent cover. Now the next step is pretty simple. We're just going to apply a Nuln Oil wash over it, and we don't want to be too heavy with this, so apply it sparingly. The main objective is for this to sort of run into the recesses and just sort of shade everything down a tad. So give me just a moment and I'll see you in a second. So with that Agrax wash dry, we're going to repeat the Khorne Red stage, this time painting less surface area. So if we focus in on the shin guard here, we can see where we applied the Khorne Red last time. This time I want to bring it back sort of like 1/2 mil and then just paint the rest of it. So we're gonna get lighter as we get towards the edge of this shin guard. Of course, everything to the right here will be filled in properly. So if we can just about see the line of dark brown, then we've got the line of Khorne Red with the, it wasn't Agrax, was it? It was Nuln Oil. Losing the mind a little. And then, so yeah, any area where we've applied the Khorne Red previously, go back over it, but just paint a little bit less this time. So you're going to build up that sort of that transition between the darkest layer and then what will eventually be the lightest layers. So yeah, leave it with me just a moment and I'll get the rest of this done. So in this next step, I'm going to use a paint. I actually don't know what it's called. It came in a starter set, Space Marines and Noble one a couple of years ago. I haven't honestly put any research into what it's actually called. So if anyone knows the type of red, perfect, let me know in the comment section. If you don't have this mystery paint, mixing Khorne Red and Evil Sun Scarlet would do just the same sort of thing. But I find that this mystery colour is a pretty good in-between shade of those two that I've just mentioned. Now this step is similar to what we have been doing. We're just going to paint that little bit smaller area, a little bit less than we have each time. So if we've moving it back, what, another millimetre, and then just go down the edge here. So it's, yeah, pretty much everything that we've been doing so far, but just moving it back a step and just painting even less than we have done previously. So yeah, pretty simple technique, or pretty simple stage rather. So yeah, let me crack on with this and I'll see you guys in a second. The next step involves using the Evil Sun Scarlet directly from the pot, and just like we've been doing so far, we're going to apply paint to the areas we have been covering, but just covering that little bit less each time. Now there's one addition to this stage. So not only are we going to be covering smaller areas than we had previously, we also need to go and edge highlight pretty much every panel. So let's just assume I've done that, filled that in nicely, excuse me. And then what we're going to do is we're just going to go around and pick out the edging of all the panels. So over these little square details, back down again. So it's a bit of a fiddly job, a bit time consuming, but it pays off in the end. So yeah, go over all the areas we have been so far, just applying less, and then edge highlight the whole model. So that's the Evil Sun Scarlet all done. You can see how I've edge highlighted all of the panels. I've also added in touches of colour on the tops of the circular parts here and here, as well as adding a sort of stripe of colour in the corner of the shoulder guard too. So that's what it should be looking like so far. The next step, we're going to mix together some Screaming Skull and Evil Sun Scarlet, and we're going to edge highlight again, but be a bit more specific with where we're applying the paint. We're going to effectively only edge highlight the parts of the model we painted with Evil Sunz last time round. And the mix we're going to need is a slightly, it's more of a pastel pink, I suppose. Let me show you if I can focus in. There we go. So it's quite a light pink. And as I said, we only want to highlight the elements of the model that we painted with solid layers of the Evil Sunz last time. So by which I mean, if we can look on the side of this model, this strip here is purely Evil Sunz. So I only want to apply the edge highlighting to this part here. Again, if we have a look at the this section of the leg, this part up to about here is Evil Sunz, so I just want to edge highlight these parts, just like so. So we're going to go around and just pick out those areas that are the lightest red, and then what we can do, and I'll roll this into sort of one clip, is use the white scar to pick out the absolute extremes of these panels. Let me just grab a little bit of paint. Now I appreciate this first mixture is still going to be slightly wet, but it's not going to make a huge amount of difference. So just on these absolute corners, I want to just pick out with the white, just like so. And any of these sort of circular parts, because we've been painting them almost like gems, I want to just add in a couple of touches of white. So give me a moment and I'll complete the rest of this. There we go. It's not a long process. You should have it done pretty quickly. You can see I've just applied that little bit of highlight around on the fingers as well and added those specks of white where the light will hit. Now the next step is to apply a Carroburg Crimson shade or wash. If this is an obsolete paint now, any sort of red wash should do the trick. And just like every other wash, we don't want to apply it too heavily because then it will just pool in one area. So paint it on lightly and sparingly. It just sort of blends those top highlights with the base layers and kind of brings the colour out a little bit as well. So yeah, that's the next step. Shouldn't take too long, and I'll see you in a sec. And there we go, with the red wash all dry. You could call it quits if you're happy with that. I, for one, always add a final layer of hard coat or sort of gloss varnish on it. I mean, we painted it like it looks shiny anyway, so it kind of adds to that effect. And it also helps out with sort of handling the model, I feel. Now, I'll add the gloss varnish now rather than at the end, because then if you're painting any of the sort of leather or anything else, you're not making that shiny. So yeah, hopefully you've enjoyed the video. If you have, let me know in the comment section. And until next time, guys, take it easy.